Maybe you can turn that down a bit.
I will.
We're live.
Hi, Cindy.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'm just going to.
I'm going to bring Valerie in here. She's just going to step and have a chit chat with you. There. Hi, everyone. So we were going to go live with Cindy Jackson tonight. And our big sandwich was we were going to have her on with you as well. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. She is going to be on with us, probably chit-chatting as live as we can get her anyway. And that's what Valerie's doing right now. So I want to welcome everybody first to Sandwich Generation. It's done by Today's Liches. That's myself, Sheila, and
Myself,
Valerie. And
hi, guys.
Hi. And we have Cindy with us on video.
Yeah, we do have her on video.
Hi, Cindy.
I'll scooch over a little bit. Anyways, and I'll get this set up here.
Yeah, no problem.
I just need my equipment. I had it.
So we have actually, here we are starting off with some giggles and laughs, and that's okay. But we're actually having a pretty serious conversation tonight, a very open dialogue. This is our third part in our series about equality and what it means to you, me, and what maybe our perspectives are now, and maybe some of our perspectives can change a little bit or grow a little. So that's what this is all about. It's open dialogue, yes, but it's also respectful. And that's where we're going to leave that. But before we go any further, Valerie?
Well, hi, guys. I've been busy and I'm still busy. If actually I could get you to put the bottom in that so I can get our lovely guest who has agreed to be on with us tonight. Her name's Cindy Jackson, and when I get this all set up, I'll be able to turn it around, and hopefully you can see her
as well as we can.
As well as we can. So that's what we're trying to do. We thought we were really tech savvy. We actually had this all set up earlier, and
let me just get this out of your way, Valerie, and then you can support Cindy there.
That's what I'm trying to do. I got this new gizmo for Christmas, and it tracks and everything else. So there's going to be a little jostling, but she'll keep you company, and then we'll get started.
Okay. So the first thing I wanted to do was talk about, I guess, a little bit where the equality part comes in of all of this and what we need to know about the country we live in. So it's a really, really, really quick history lesson that kind of touches on what we're talking about tonight. So in Canada, believe it or not, in this, and I'm saying in Canada, the actual land, not Canadians, I'm talking about the land. So in Canada, on this land, the first slavery that ever occurred was actually during war, and it was indigenous to indigenous people, and that wasn't good. Then several years when the Europeans decided to come over, slavery became the norm, I guess you would say, because Europeans had already adopted the process for hundreds and hundreds of years. And when slavery came, white people often looked at it as a people, and mostly Black individuals, were property. But that included indigenous as well when they arrived here in Canada.
When who arrived?
Europeans.
Okay. I just want a clarification.
It included both at that time. Once they arrived, and I'm talking about the land here we live on, actual Canada. I'm not talking about when it all started and going back thousands. I'm talking about this Canada, the one we live in as we know it today.
Right.
Okay. So that we know, and that mostly all were white masters of Black or Indigenous people.
Right.
Okay. Then it was when Britain came in, because France was here prior. They had started more slavery, I guess you can say, and even more slavery from Africa at the time. We talked about like actual years. Well, in the 18th and 19th century, we had, because of the American Revolution, we had Black loyalists that came to Canada. In the 1790s, we had Maroons from Jamaica, and I don't know if you've ever heard of the Maroons, but that's something you might want to look into. And a lot of them later went on to Sierra Leone. Then in 1813, there were also some Black refugees, of course, because of the Civil War that was happening in the South.
Well, it wasn't the Civil War, it was the War of 1812.
But so people understand, Canadians were practicing slavery as well until at least 1807. Of course, it continued because of servitudes. But it was 1807, March 25th, when the British Empire is actually the one who abolished slavery.
I had 1833 when it went through.
No, it was 1807 here, and for the British came
Empire.
About, and it was 1833 when we actually made it a law.
Oh, okay. Well, it was the British Empire because we didn't even exist as Canada until 1867.
Right.
But regardless,
it was practiced here and freely.
Right. So we decided that our hot topic tonight is Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Last week we did white privilege, and you'll see a lot of this equality is all interchangeable. So we thought we would actually bring on a guest.
Yes.
And her name is Cindy Jackson. We tried to bring her up on video, but as you could witness the humongous fail we had, we'll get it figured out, I promise, because we plan on having more guests and hope Cindy is a regular visitor. So the reason this is Cindy. We'll let her say hello. I just want to give her a wonderful introduction and thank her. She has her bachelor's degree in political science. She's from, I believe, Southern Ontario, but I'll let her detail that. She's a mother of 3 wonderful children, and she is a working mother as well. Wow. So I'll give it away and let Cindy introduce herself.
Right.
And hopefully they can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody? Can you guys hear me? Yeah? Okay.
Yep.
Right. So
they say they can.
Sheila and Valerie. Pardon?
They can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Nice and close.
Thank you guys for having me on tonight. I appreciate it. I just want to say that one of the reasons why this movement is important to me is not only am I half Black myself, but I have 3 Black children, including a 19-year-old Black male son, kind of thing. And every single time, and everybody thinks that it's just in the U.S. where there's so much, and obviously that's where it started, Black Lives Matter, but even Canada has like 5 chapters. I'm not a member of any of them, but I do fully support them, and and so I figured that this is an important discussion to have, and I appreciate that you ladies are opening this opportunity for this discussion to take place, because it is definitely something that it's becoming about more awareness about social justice and that sort of thing, and not only about Black Lives Matter with regards to police brutality, but it's so much more, opening up communities and that sort of thing, opening up dialogues about why this is happening to begin with, that sort of thing, which obviously narrows down to systemic racism and all kinds of things. So I'm grateful that you ladies are giving even myself the opportunity to sit and have a discussion, an open discussion, because I think that's the only way that eventually this is going to be able to be addressed at every level, from the federal government to the provincial governments to the municipal governments. These are involved in this movement.
Right. It can't just, and that's where I think both Valerie and I have come to the conclusion that we can't just keep talking about it. There has to be an open dialogue that also and I say this with respect, that also includes opening minds,
Right.
the education and I guess discussing the nitty gritty, where sometimes I think we all want to shy away from the nitty gritty because everybody's afraid now of hurting somebody else's feelings, but you can never get to the bottom of anything until you get to the bottom of where these things are coming from. And we notice that a lot of these things are coming from fear, both on all sides. A lot of it seems to be fear-based, and a lot of it also with good reason. I think on the Black side of things, on the Black Lives Matter side, you can't take away from the fact that it's only happening because they're Black.
Right.
That's where, we had a lot of, I guess, questions. Can't make an omelet without cracking some eggs. Yeah. We need to get to the inside, right? In order to fix this, or in order to at least discuss this.
Do you, so I have a question for you, Cindy. One of my questions is, like last week when we were talking about white privilege, how, when it was first thrown out there, the automatic reaction was offense. Right. And then we started getting into the nitty gritty of what it truly meant. And one of the reasons why I thought it really important tonight to have you on is to discuss Black Lives Matter and what that means to you.
Yeah.
Like in your experience.
In your experience. I mean, I know you can't talk for anyone else's.
It's true. I can't talk for everyone's experience, but there are certain things that it's become the norm in the Black community, and it shouldn't be. It's really unfortunate. I'll give you an example. My son is driving, obviously, now. He's old enough to drive and that sort of thing. And way before he started driving, he was advised and educated that, do not give the police a hard time. If they stop you, put your hands on the steering wheel or on the dashboard and just keep them there until they tell you it's okay to move, and things like that. And, when you go out jogging, do not put your hoodie up, things like that. And even like small microaggressions about how to wear his hair for interviews and things that people who are experiencing white privilege do not necessarily even consider. They don't think about.
Yeah, it's not our norm.
It's not our norm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can speak to this because we've been mothers, we're Gen Xers, and we both have sons, right? And daughters. We both have daughters as well. And is this ever a conversation you have with your son? About when
I do remember telling my son that if he continued to wear his hat backwards, he was definitely going to be stopped. That's the only conversation I ever had with him.
Okay.
The funny thing is, I don't think, based on the color of his skin, if a cop sees him with his hat on backwards, I don't see the likelihood of him still being stopped in the window.
No,
he wouldn't be.
If you're a Black person and you drive around the corner, I'm not saying you're going to get stopped, but the chances are a lot higher if a bunch of cars have gone by, with various different, a white person, or whatever,
right,
and a Black person goes by, there's a higher likelihood that Black person will get stopped than anybody else, regardless of whether
absolutely
wearing their hat on backwards or anything like that.
Right.
And one of the reasons why we have to tell, unfortunately, we have to educate our Black sons is to put their hands on the steering wheel, is because any movement could be seen as an act of aggression.
Right.
And I say these things to my son so that he's not brutally beaten.
Because of.
Kind of thing.
And that's something that, as a white person, or I guess as white privilege,
We have never
had to experience.
I've never had that conversation
No.
with. I've never had those conversations.
And so with Black Lives Matter now, I'll tell you, we had, remember I think you were on our last show. I'm not sure if you saw it or not, but one of the things I had done is I made a list of, things that, or fears that I had heard from other people, their concerns. And I wanted to address them with you because I wanted to know are these legitimate concerns, or are they just not understanding what Black Lives Matter is trying to say?
Yes.
And I think that's a lot of it, because one of the things that came up was, do the people from Black Lives Matter, do they have any concern for any other populations, or is it just Black lives?
Well, here's the funny thing is, because the rhetoric that has been skewed back to the Black lives, people who are supporting Black lives, they'll hear, all lives matter. If all lives matter, we wouldn't be having this problem to begin with.
See, if all lives matter, we wouldn't be having to have the Black Lives Matter.
Right. No.
Exactly.
Right.
There wouldn't be a disparity.
Right.
The reason why Black Lives Matter exists to begin with is because there's such a disparity between how a Black person is treated, from the police, and systemic racism that is targeting Black people because of the color of their skin. There's such a disparity. And if all lives matter, which people tend to think that is the response that they should be spewing, which is absolutely, it's insensitive, first of all, because not all lives are in danger every time they leave the house.
Right.
Not all lives are in danger every time they have an interaction with the police.
Right.
Not all lives are being targeted because of the color of their skin. So it doesn't make sense to me that someone's response is all lives matter. Because just like you said, not all lives are telling their sons to put their hands on the steering wheel and don't make any sudden movements, because my fear is that my son will come home one day, because they don't know that he's a second-year university kid who gets amazing grades and he's on his way to law school, and you know what I mean, and does a lot for the community. They don't know that. They see the color of his skin, and that's what they're basing their decision. So automatically, they could have aggressive tendencies because he's 6'1", he's muscular,
right.
He sounds like a strapping young man.
Yeah.
I did pretty good.
Yeah. All lives can't matter unless Black Lives Matter. Thank you for bringing that up, Cindy. And that's from Brent.
Brent said, all lives can't matter unless Black Lives matter. Thank you for bringing it up, Cindy.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that was the whole point of one of the reasons, is to clear up some of the misconceptions and the rhetoric around the Black Lives Matter movement.
But I think also understanding that in some ways, and this is where open dialogue, it's when you bring things that are uncomfortable that people may be thinking, and you put them on the table and then debate and discuss them. And it's not afterwards and make your own judgments and that.
So I would like to also hear, because I know Cindy has also been involved through her workplace and through her career in helping establish some. And I'll let her explain, because this is her baby, not mine.
Well, this year, as a response to George Floyd's murder in the U.S., I was frustrated because I wanted to know why companies stand on racism. And Sheila, you touched on something kind of important last. What I heard you say was, well, they know that I'm not racist. They know. Actually,
no.
What I wanted to say is that's not necessarily true, because if you have all these hiring practices where you're not even seeing that your workplace is not diverse, and say I'm an entry level candidate, and I come in and I start asking, what are your policies on diversity? And, or not only that, like, you know, how diverse, what's the percentage of diversity, like, you know, people of color in this company and stuff like that. And I start seeing that there is nobody who looks like me in management or at the executive levels and things like that, then that's a problem. And it's a problem that needs to be looked at.
I was only speaking to how I would hire.
Yeah.
I don't know about how others hired, but I can tell you that most of I actually had the opposite. I was in more of a place where there was a whole lot of diversity.
It really depends, but I would like
my boss was of a different culture.
I would like to say and put out there that within, let's just even look at the diversity within our own government first.
Yeah.
Now, I grew up in a legal community. My background is in a legal community, working for justice and everything else, and for the government. You walk into a courthouse, any courthouse in Canada, and you tell me who you see behind those counters.
And the benches.
No, not the benches. The benches are well represented. They are because they are appointed.
Right.
I'm talking about
like
your clerks, court reporters, schedulers, everybody working within that courthouse. I ask you to go to go to the maintenance enforcement program. Again, go in and look and see who's behind the counters, because I can guarantee you it's not diverse.
No.
You know, it's funny that you say that too, Val, because Nathan was doing a project a couple of weeks ago on something similar, like, you know, diversity in like the legal community. And what he had noticed, that the numbers were staggering when it came to the amount of lawyers and partners and junior partners and that sort of thing. And most of the big Toronto law firms, they had single digit percentages of Black people in their law firms. And this is like the big firms out here in Toronto kind of thing.
Right.
And I found that extremely upsetting, because everyone is touting, it's like the new rage, it's the new thing is diversity. But then take a step back and look like you said, at the courthouses and stuff like that. But when you're going to like the law firms and stuff like that, you're not seeing you're not seeing them back up their words.
Right.
There's very minimal amounts of people of color in these roles. And the unfortunate thing, what I also read in these articles, was that the people who have got their law degree and they're you know, Black people of color, they got their degree, and yet they're being treated as if they're an associate instead of a partner, or that, you know, that kind of thing.
Right. And the thing is, it really depends, and this is sad too, but it really depends on where you live.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Right.
But I mean, Toronto's supposed to be one of the most multicultural, if not the most multicultural.
Toronto and Montreal.
And yet, all of these these places, I don't see the diversity as you go up the ladder. The diversity, and maybe because I've never been at the top of the ladder, so I've never had to look that far down. But I'm just being at the bottom, I saw a lot more diversity than I ever saw at the top. Like of large corporations and stuff. I worked at one point for a very large corporation. And in my workplace, we had a great deal of diversity. However, as we started to go up the management rungs and up to the CEO ranges, that changed.
Yeah.
And it became less and less and less the further you went up.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that with my own two eyes. Pardon me?
I think we've digressed from Black Lives Matter.
We have.
Yes, we have.
We do that all the time.
What I really wanted to discuss is, what do you think their foundation, Black Lives Matter Foundation?
The foundation, and where do you think we should be moving? Because we're not just about throwing the hot topics out there. It's about looking at moving forward and how can we continue moving towards a solution? Yes.
Well, the first and foremost, the underlying absolute truth that Black Lives Matter was founded on was police brutality. And that's the underlying
Right.
100%. That's what started the entire movement.
Okay.
Is the brutality, brutalization, and killings of unarmed Black men, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And it has slowly progressed as well into, there are certain people that believe defund the police and things like that. The reason they're saying that is because when police are called out to, say, a domestic incident that is involving someone with a mental illness, they shouldn't be showing up with a gun, and a counselor should be, coming. On top of that, things like having, the body cams and stuff like that, these should be like something that's straight across the board on all police that are out.
I agree. I've always said that. And let's face it, it would keep people in check when you know you're on a camera, right?
I can state.
But it's too bad we're at that state that we have to worry about that. Like,
Well-
I'm sick of it.
And the thing is that here's the sad reality that most RCMP stations have a PAC team. The PAC team is to deal with mental illness, but that's it. And so, although that Cindy is bringing this up, is that there is no specialized detachments that's been trained in these issues, right, to manage and basically where it's founded on the police brutality. We all have, I can honestly say,
Yeah.
we have all witnessed incidents, even here in Canada, that have been videoed or whatever. And yes, a solution. Every officer wears video camera equipment, right? That's one solution moving forward. Keeping the dialogue open, and no matter how difficult or upsetting, we can manage this. I know we can. The thing is that do we want to be where the US is in 90 years, right? And if we keep sweeping this under the rug and just lifting up the rug and pushing it under and not dealing with it, we're going to be in the exact same spot,
Right.
where nothing has changed.
Right.
And
so, I mean, that's a very small part of 1,000 things that need to be done. But okay, we'll say one of the things that needs to be done, yes, Cindy, would be to make sure every officer has that
Body
video,
cam.
body cam. But also that when you're being dispatched to a like you said, a domestic dispute, or it just could be a personal problem dispute type of deal, or where they've called the assistance line or whatever, that they're sending out a team of people, or at least a person that is qualified to deal with mental illness.
But not just mental illness, but the whole point is it's not just that they're qualified to deal with diversity and sensitivity. Like a lot of them, I know they say they go through diversity and sensitivity training, and but then why is it still happening?
Right.
Right. If every officer.
First of all, when it comes to, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when it comes to their training, it has to be in racialized communities that they receive their training, because if they're getting training like from a book, and they're not having the experience of being in these communities and learning about these communities, and this is why there are plenty of calls for police reform.
Right.
Not only training kind of thing, not only how they handle these kind of situations with regards, because my thought, and I'm sure a lot of people who do support Black Lives Matter, why are they not walking around with rubber bullets instead of, why is this a shoot to kill sort of scenario?
Absolutely.
There's
Absolutely.
another one. Very good.
That's a very good question.
Yeah. Yeah. Brent had a question for you, Cindy.
Sorry, Cindy, what'd you say?
I said, and what happened to hand-to-hand combat? Are they not being trained? How come a gun is the first way to de-escalate a situation? That is not how you de-escalate a situation, is pulling a gun on someone.
Yeah.
Pulling a gun.
Very good.
And
Right.
I mean, these are questions that the police need to be accountable for. And this is what, like, many people who support
right.
follow. And, you know.
Well, and here's a for instance for you. A for instance is in the UK, their bobbies, their police officers don't carry guns in the United Kingdom.
There you go.
Right. But anyways, Brent has a question for you. Go ahead, Sheila.
As a mother of colored children and also for yourself, what is something you would like to see happen here in Canada to further this movement?
That's a great question, Brent. Thank you for asking. And I would like to see more of a commitment from Justin Trudeau and the federal government that they're going to show a lot more support towards Black Lives Matter community, the movement, the community, and in order for us to go from there, kind of thing. Because this is, like I said, this isn't just overhaul of the police. This is an all-out overhaul at all government levels.
Okay.
That's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
Now, I have, and so does Valerie, we have one last question for you, Cindy, so that our viewers can actually get to know you a little bit better as well, because we'll probably have you on here again. This has been awesome. Only next time we'll have you actually on
the screen.
So what I wanted to ask you was, what is your favorite ice cream
flavor?
My favorite
ice cream flavor.
Yep.
I'm guessing maybe praline and cream, I suppose.
Oh, wow, it's a good one of mine too. I know, I love that one too. No,
we talked about it.
But thanks a lot, Cindy. We'll probably absolutely love to have you back again.
Yes.
And thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
And we have went past our time again. We knew this would happen. It's a difficult topic. I understand that, but we're going to keep pushing it forward.
And Cindy, I don't know if you're busy or not, but so you know, at 8, I guess would be 10 o'clock your time. Pretty late. We're on Facebook. And if you want to come on, you can answer some questions
then, and we can just invite you right in from the chat room.
Okay.
But if you're busy, totally get it, because we'll end up replaying some of this as well.
All right.
Thanks, ladies. I appreciate it. And
Thank you.
It's great of you guys to open this discussion and this dialogue for this kind of conversation, even though they're uncomfortable conversations. Thank you for having this opportunity.
Thank you.
To discuss this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you. Lots of love. Thank you, Cindy.
Bye.
Well, we certainly hope we gave you guys something to chew on this week. And we will see you next week. And thanks for dropping by.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.